Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new JJ's One Man Podcast. It's been a good week so far, and it's only going to get better, which is pretty nice. I'm having a great week. I'm having a great month, and we're getting ready to go into June, June is my month. It's my birthday month, which is freaking sweet. But on top of that, there's been a lot of good things happening, both in the worlds of gaming and the worlds of entertainment with movies and TV and stuff. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to get excited about. Recently, I just got a chance to go see The Little Mermaid in theaters, which was fun. It was a nice, surprising experience for me. I got to review The Little Mermaid, which was nice. Got to be part of that conversation. And besides that, very soon, as of this week that I'm actually recording this podcast, we got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming out, which is going to be sweet too. I'm looking forward to that. I got my ticket to go to my AMC theater, and I can't wait to see that. But for us here in the gaming world, we got a lot of stuff that's dropping very soon. And the beginning of June leads into a whole month of just big releases, one after the other, which is sweet. So if you hadn't had already something to play, you're about to have a whole bunch of stuff to play. Because literally the next day, after Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse comes out, Street Fighter 6 comes out for all platforms. Yes, I cannot wait to play Street Fighter 6. I already got my copy of the game on reserve, which is nice. But I also had a chance, even this morning at the time I'm recording this podcast, I got a chance to peer at some of the reviews that have been getting published up because the embargo for Street Fighter 6 already lifted up. A lot of places are saying some great things, which is good to see. I got a chance to look at the IGN review of the game, which it gave it a 9 out of 10, which is great. But I read through some of it and they said a whole bunch of different things that I thought was a little bit weird. I don't see how you could say like a whole big chunk of the game is like mediocre or shallow and meh and still give the game like such a high score. Like it doesn't feel like it matches up, what you're saying with your scores, but whatever. We've had that debate endless amounts of times. It doesn't matter. Street Fighter 6 is getting some good scores, and we like to see that out here, okay? And then there's other games that are going to be coming out later in the month, but we'll get to those when we can. What I do want to talk about, though, at least for this conversation, despite all the good stuff that's been going on, because there's a lot of good, but there's also some nonsense, there's also some goofiness, there's also some weird stuff going on all over the place, especially on social media. To be honest with you, I feel like sometimes social media just plays too damn much and it ends up finding out way too often than what it needs to. If you don't know what that saying is, don't worry about it. The point is that we've had a lot of discussions about fandoms lately. We've had it with The Little Mermaid, which was a big thing, which we'll get to in a bit. And then also, obviously, the big stuff going on with Lord of the Rings. Because I feel like the Lord of the Rings fandom is going through a really rough patch, like right now. It's like pretty crazy. Some of the fans have to deal with right now. Fans of Tolkien, fans of the Lord of the Rings movies, or just the IP and the books and stuff. Between the Lord of the Rings Golem, which I believe is probably the worst release for gaming in 2023. That's what I'm seeing from a lot of people saying. I looked at some of the game. I even reached out to Daedalic to actually cover the game, and not only did they not respond, but I see why they didn't do so. I was talking about this on TikTok, and I said that, damn, like this game is getting like bombed in the reviews. Like not review bombed, but like just dog piled on because the game is so bad. Like so many people have been pointing out all the technical problems, all the big issues with it, a lot of the crazy design choices, which is like, why did this game even come out? Bottom line, the game is like the worst release of 2023. Worse than Redfall. Surprisingly so. And Redfall was bad. When I got a chance to play that and review that for Clownfish TV, it was like, man, this game is horrible. But either way, my point is that the Lord of the Rings fans are going through a really rough time right now. The other thing about that, besides the Golem game, which is just garbage, the Lord of the Rings fans are dealing with a lot of infighting because of what's been going on with the Magic the Gathering collaboration between Wizards of the Coast and the Lord of the Rings, or the Tolkien Estate, or I guess it's, Embracer Group is the one that owns Lord of the Rings currently right now, because I think they own the Tolkien Foundation. They own like some of that stuff involving IP. It gets really complicated, right? But they did this collaboration where they started doing reinterpretations of the characters for the Magic the Gathering cards, the different sets that came out. This one focusing a lot on Middle-earth, which is cool. It sounds cool, but then there's a problem. So let me take a sip of this coffee real quick because this problem is massive, right? The big problem that a lot of fans are having right now is that there seems to be a lot of bending, both with race and I think even in gender in a few cases, but I saw a lot of stuff with the race bending for different characters, specifically Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings set. Now, here's the problem with this entire discussion, this entire conversation, because I shouldn't even have to say this, but to make it very clear is like, I don't care about the skin tone of a character. It doesn't bother me personally. It doesn't bother me to the point where it's like, oh, I can't enjoy the media and stuff. But when we are going to have a conversation about fandom and we are going to have a conversation about IP, about franchises and stuff, especially established franchises for like more than 40 plus years, which Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and Middle Earth is a lot longer than that. It's probably one of the original groups of like fandom before even like Star Trek and even Star Wars. So it's like, it's way back there. The point is, though, is that these like IP and these franchises and these like, universes with these characters have existed for a long time. So there's an established, characteristics or established different characteristics about a lot of this stuff that people know, that people respect, and people hold in high regard. When you just go out and flat out change that and just like, make adjustments to things just because you want to do so, you have to go at it with a level of reverence for the fandom that's already there. Now, I'm not saying like you have to cater to the bigots out here. Like nobody's saying this, right? Nobody's saying that you have to cater to the crazy people on social media. Obviously not. Okay, let's be real. Like those people do exist. They're not as abundant as a lot of places like to make you believe, but they are out there and they are a pain in the ass. But when it comes to this stuff with the Aragorn stuff, because what they did was they made Aragorn dark-skinned. They made him black. And while for some people that's great for representation, that's great for, showcasing a different version of the character and stuff, for a lot of the Tolkien fans, they kind of feel a little bit disrespected. Not because they hate black characters. There's actually a race of dark-skinned characters and dark-skinned, I think they're not Numenorians, but they're not even necessarily human beings, but it's another Tolkien race that Tolkien made that has exclusively like dark-skinned people. It has something to do, I think, either with the Second Age or the Third Age. I'm not sure. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments section. There's a specific thing that people keep bringing up, and I can't remember their name, but instead of just like focusing on something like that, which would be great for representation and great for highlighting certain stuff within Middle Earth, they decided, Wizards of the Coast, just to change the skin color of Aragorn. And for a lot of people, it's like, okay, this is cool, but that's not Aragorn. that's not the character that we know. That's not how the character is described in the original text for that Tolkien made himself. So the problem is, though, is that when you say something like that, when you say things along those lines, or at least try to have that conversation, it immediately turns volatile. It immediately turns hostile. Because I think that the bulk of people that are getting caught up in that are not people that are any sort of like ism or any sort of like thing where they hate anybody of a particular race. I think that's very intellectually dishonest from what I'm seeing, okay? Because I'm going through a lot of this stuff. And when you shift through a lot of the garbage there, what you actually find is that people are just saying, like trying to have that conversation, and they're getting thrown into the mix with all these like terrible things and terrible people. So what doesn't make it any better, let me take a sip of this coffee real quick because it's going to get even worse, right? What makes it even worse is the fact that you have Wizards of the Coast that has people that are working with them or people that are working with others that are part of this set or whatever, this collaboration, just throwing fuel, like giant jugs of fuel onto the fire by calling people names, insulting some of the fandom, some of the people that are online and such. I think that when you're part of a company and you're part of a brand and you're representing an IP and stuff, you need to avoid doing something like that because it just makes the conversations about this stuff so much worse. Not about this specifically, but about your IP, about your brand. And if you're trying to rep your brand, you're trying to make good stuff with your brand, you don't want to necessarily do that. That's not avoiding the conversation. It's doing what's best for the brand. It's a business move, not necessarily an emotional one. And what's crazy is that you have a lot of people, from what I saw, just jumping into the mix with this stuff, either clout chasing or just looking to just cause problems, looking to stir the pot, which is a problem with social media because as much as there's a good conversation to have about both skin color, about Middle Earth and fantasy characters, and about a lot of things of what maybe this company should have been doing with this collaboration, all of that gets lost into the mix. Now, what's crazy about this and how I relate this back to The Little Mermaid is because there's a similar thing that was going on, ironically enough, right? A lot of people that were openly vocal about Ariel being played by Halle Bailey, which, by the way, Halle Bailey's voice is freaking gorgeous, heavenly in that movie. If you go into that movie understanding that it's a totally different interpretation or take on Little Mermaid, it's not necessarily The Little Mermaid, like originally like the animated show, then, or the animated, not show, but animated movie, like then you could enjoy that movie a whole lot more. And then you could have both of them live coexistingly, which is good. But a lot of people, their biggest arguments about it was like, look, if you're going to adapt The Little Mermaid and you're going to adapt the Disney classic, obviously doing this is a clear standout thing by changing either the skin color or changing different features about the main character, which Disney has on the main poster. The main first character you see is the redhead Ariel, with the lighter skin. Now, Again, same thing. Like, I don't care about the skin color of the character as long as the movie's good. And trust me, I reviewed the Little Mermaid live action, and it was actually pretty darn good. Surprisingly so for a live action Disney remake. But this same type of conversation that you see happening with Aragorn in that Lord of the Rings set for Magic the Gathering is the same thing happening with this one. What I found also interesting in my experience going to go see this movie when it first came out that weekend, like that Thursday is when I went to go see The Little Mermaid. I ran into a couple different Little Mermaid fans or Disney fans that were out there, and they were just there to see the movie. They didn't care about any of this conversation. A lot of them were telling me that they tuned out of social media, which I think was the best thing for them because things just get volatile and stuff. But their main thing is that, look, I love The Little Mermaid. I love Disney and stuff. I love specifically this story, so I'm going to support this no matter what. And luckily it was good. But we can't just like start calling people names and start calling people stuff just because we point something out or something that we just notice on there. Again, this is very different than the bigots and very different than the crazy people that you see on various places online, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, whatever. You have to learn to be able to, like, separate both the crazy fools and the morons from the actual people that are trying to talk and trying to have a conversation. It's very difficult because everybody just throws everybody into one specific thing. And I saw this amongst the Little Mermaid fans. The majority of them do not care about the skin color or the race or the nationality of a lot of the characters, just as long as the actors and actresses that they get for these things actually represent the characters in a very meaningful way. And again, having a lot of reverence for the source material. The source material not being the original Little Mermaid story, which I know this movie did. I'm talking about specifically the animated classic, which is the one everybody grew up on. This was 1989 when this movie came out, and everybody grew up watching that movie. I don't care who you are, even if you're the biggest Disney hater, okay? You saw The Little Mermaid at least a couple times. Don't lie. Don't lie on here, okay? The main thing is that these people just love this story. And they just love the idea that it's being done in a nice, great way that's fun. But again, if we're going to be critical, if we're going to be honest, and we're going to be, mature about these conversations with fandom, when that case being the Disney fandom, we have to be able to talk about this stuff without being able to, like, put people into boxes or separate people into ways that are just, like, again, intellectually dishonest. So overall, when it comes to fandom, I feel like companies, number one, should not add that fuel to the fire to, like, just getting into like these crazy discussions and debates about like insulting fans or calling fans whatever names and stuff. I think that doesn't help anything. Number two, I think also the same thing with the media. Some of the people that I saw covering these things, both the Little Mermaid movie and the Aragorn controversy. Again, it's so stupid. It shouldn't even really be a controversy. But the Lord of the Rings like collaboration stuff and a few other things here and there. You could even throw in the Rings of Power into that stuff that a lot of people have brought up. I think that if you're covering it as a member of the media or a content creator and stuff, you need to stop adding that same fuel to the fire. Like, stop insulting the fandom, stop insulting the groups of people that have followed this stuff that legit want to have a conversation, and stop trying to throw them into this box with all these other people. Okay, again, you got to separate this stuff. And number three, when it comes to representation and it comes to a lot of this stuff that Hollywood and many other places have really put to the forefront, you want to see things handled in a different way where it doesn't feel like a hand-me-down. Like that was one of the things I kept seeing with Aragorn specifically. Even though it didn't bother me, I saw a bunch of people bring this up. Felt like Aragorn was being a hand-me-down character to show like as like a quick way of representation. Yet there's all this other stuff over here in Middle Earth that just got ignored. That could be done. Same thing could be said for Disney. Like, where's the Princess Tiana movie? Where's the Princess and the Frog movie? Or where's another original IP that Disney can make to really kind of fit that mold or fit that goal that they're trying to go for, and then have it live alongside a lot of these other things. So that way the argument doesn't become like, oh, this character doesn't look like this character, or doesn't look like the classic, whatever. No, you can have both right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I feel like is the more interesting, more mature conversation, as opposed to the debates and the discussions online that I've been seeing with all this stuff. But again, I'm now talking in circles and such, but this kind of type of stuff can get very complicated. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of places haven't really been really discussing it with any sort of good faith. There's been a couple I saw. If you guys ever watch Double Toast, they have their videos online and they do a lot of stuff on TikTok. They were actually talking about some of the stuff in relation to The Little Mermaid. They actually went a lot more deeper than what I did now, talking about this stuff where, again, it's a couple guys who are dark skinned, a couple black guys saying like, look, we love this representation, but we want to see also original stories that could give us something much more unique and that's our own, that could really embody the best parts of representation for characters and media and other stuff, as much as they loved it, because they're like me, they love The Little Mermaid. Again, Halle Bailey's voice voice is heavenly in that film. But I digress, though. There's a lot of different thoughts with all this stuff. Let me know some of your thoughts about all this in the comments section down below. Tell me, have you guys gotten a chance to see The Little Mermaid in theaters? What do you guys think about the Lord of the Rings collaboration with Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering? Are you guys excited for some of the upcoming games coming up soon? Again, Street Fighter 6 is this week. I'm ready to play it. I'm going to be playing it on my, on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be playing a whole bunch of different matches online. I can't wait to dive into the World Tour mode. The World Tour mode, I know that some of the reviews said that it's not all that great, but I really want to explore in there because I enjoyed what I saw in the demo, even though I did have my little issues with it, but it still was interesting. It kind of reminded me of like the Conquest mode from Mortal Kombat, and I'm hoping Capcom at least, hits at least that par, as far as quality is concerned with this type of thing. And then obviously we're going to get online and just beat people down in Street Fighter 6 like we did with the beta. People are going to be throwing hands and catching hands all weekend. I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll be doing a full review of the game here on the channel. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Make sure you guys go check out the other episodes of the podcast. There's a full playlist for you guys to enjoy, as well as also all my other videos, a lot of the reviews, including Jedi Survivor, that's up right now that you guys could check out and enjoy. With that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.